Bella.
Thank you. We'd like to say good afternoon and welcome to anybody watching us. And Happy New Year. This is our first meeting for the year. And we really appreciate everything from last year and the support and the well wishes that we received from our partners and our community's support. I would like to call this meeting to order at 1:01. Have our opening prayer. Ready? Yes. All right. Yeah, glad to be there. Go ahead.
Good and loving God, our source of love and light, thank you for bringing us together today in a spirit of generosity. May we honor one another by keeping an open mind. May we voice our truth and listen with an open heart. May we discern your will to unite in fruitful outcome. We ask for your wisdom and grace to use our talents for the betterment of others. With gratitude, we offer this prayer in your name.
Thank you, Pastor Miller. 1.3 at 26 land acknowledgement. We are a party to 26, and as such, we wish to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is 26 territory and traditional meeting ground for many indigenous peoples. We recognize the diversity of First Nations who have at one time lived across the territory, as well as the presence of the Métis Nation. Mr. Bashar, do we have any public requests? Thank you. Do you have any additions to the agenda?
I would just like to add 5.2 in Canada. Other topics that the majority of trustees present feel it should be held in private in the public interest.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we're inserting that after item number 5 business items.
Yes, 5.2.
Okay.
You. Any other? No. Okay. Can I have someone make the motion for the agenda? Go ahead.
I move that the board approve the agenda as amended.
Thank you. From number 2.1, we have the minutes.
Call the question,
Oh.
Mr. Chair.
Can I run into? Can I call the question to the agenda motion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Approval of the minutes. Right.
I note that the board approved the minutes of the regular meeting held December 21st, 2022 as circulated.
Any discussion? Comments? No. Thank you. I would now like to call the question. All in favor? Carried. Then we have our board goals and priorities for your information. We'll go to item number 4, the executive and administrative reports. That is the board chair's reports. Any question or comment? See none. Number 4.2, superintendent's reports. Any comments or questions? Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
I just had a bit of a question about number 2, attending the mental health literacy community of practice or organized by Alberta Health Services team. I just wonder if you could explain just what that is. Is that something new or has that been ongoing?
So that's an ongoing thing. So mental health literacy is it's the method by which we respond to students who are presenting with mental health issues. So the community of practice is a group of school division personnel who meet on a regular basis to brainstorm, strategize, and discuss the current state of mental health with students and the challenges that they're presenting with.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make one comment about on number 4, point 3, the student consultation sessions. I just wanted to comment how wonderful it was, and I want to thank Tara. That was a wonderful morning. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and thank you, Mr. Bouchard, for coming there. Everyone, I think the students, everyone appreciated it. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Right.
I have 2 questions. One is pertaining to number 6 regarding the Indigenous Education Learning Coach, and it says that there was point of how to move forward with the role. Can you give us an update of?
So with the previous Indigenous education coach resigning, we just saw an opportunity with our administrators to have a discussion about up to date or the progress to date, what went well, what do we want to ensure the new person is aware of things that are going on, and what's our best way to proceed forward in order to meet the outcomes outlined.
So,
In number 7, it's the, I believe it's the last bullet, the nominations for the Prime Minister Award, Edwin Parr, and Excellence in Catholic Education Awards. Is there a way that the board can support having individuals from our division nominated for these awards? I believe every year we do have at least one nomination, but is there anything that we as a board can do to help support that initiative?
So Assistant Superintendent Malloy oversees those awards. The Prime Minister's award not so much, but the other 2. So I'll maybe ask her if there's any.
So of course, these are prestigious awards that we promote throughout the division. So it would be wonderful to have the board or trustees being aware of these awards and verbalizing it in your communities, in the schools that they're at, or in communication with parents for some of these awards can certainly be led by parents as well.
Which one would be led by parents, just so that we can have that communication?
Well, parents can be involved in all.
Okay.
The Excellence in Catholic Education Awards tends to go through the school and then decided as one representative for all. But for the Edwin Parr Prime Minister's Awards, most especially the Prime Minister, would be helpful for parents.
Thank you.
you. There is none. Give right.
One comment, one question. So also in the area of student consultation under number 4. I did get to attend one of those so far, and I think it's fabulous. It's a great opportunity to listen to the students to inform our priorities going forward. So that's really appreciated. And the second part, the question I have is number 7, bullet number 4, in regards to the modular application. That was the wording.
Yeah.
Modular submission at Father Leduc. You could expand on, are we looking to get modulars?
Thank you, Trustee Miller. So we know that the province on an annual basis asks the divisions if there are any requests or a need for modulars to be attached to any of their facilities. We also know that enrollment and utilization needs to be close to 100%. So currently, Father Leduc School in Leduc meets that criteria, being at 101% capacity. So the division did submit a request for 2 modulars at Father Leduc to deal with those enrollment pressures moving forward.
Just a comment of what you bring out. So, Father Leduc, did we build a small school then? And we needed modulars already?
No, I think the province, I guess the trend has been to build a smaller core as part of their builds with the ability to add modulars as they get bigger. That's been their methodology in the last 5 years. The rationale being that when schools and communities shrink, the modulars can be removed from those schools and added to other areas or schools that have enrollment pressures. So I think that's been an intentional strategy by the province.
That makes sense. Don't be it to build it too big, and then, because yeah, Father Leduc is a new built, and modulars are being added already. Okay. Thank you. Secretary Treasurer, do you have any money? It's a new year.
We have money.
Okay. No, have some comments.
Just a question on the financial and risk management portion. It kind of caught my eye. Yeah, financial and risk management, I think third bullet. Review of technology practices around user authentication to comply with insurers' requirements. What is that? And what are the changes? Is that cybercrime kind of risk management or?
Yes,
1 second, and that was my question again. I'm going to ask on is the division technology practice are outdated and we need to comply with our insurance requirements? So now you have 2 questions.
with regards to, I don't believe our practices are outdated. Our insurers are looking at specific aspects of our operation and requesting that we provide a multi-factor authentication. Most of you probably are familiar in terms of banking where you go to log in and then they may send a text message to your phone that they verify that the person who's logging in is actually the owner of the account. That's a multi-factor authentication. Our insurers are looking specifically at limiting remote access in, and we're looking at a strategy to implement that in the very near future. But they are putting that requirement for our virtual private network. So we need remote access in to division. There's already a process that you only log into the division network if you have a division machine. But our insurers feels that's not sufficient enough. They want the multi-factor authentication in this one.
All right, because yeah, that caught my eye as well. I was like, are we not complying with something? And insurers are the rest. Well, yes. Trustee, that would go ahead.
Yes, I just have a question about Father Lacombe School. I'm wondering if you have dates for the demolition, when you expect the old building to be down completely? Or has that been talked about yet?
Yeah, the demolition for the exterior of the building, because they're removing parts and pieces all the while. But nonetheless, the exterior and the main part of the building that people will physically see, that will start on the 27th of March. Currently is what's been discussed. And that's intended very specifically to coincide with the spring break. Because we are aligned, our spring break for that last week of March is also aligned with Wolf Creek. So in terms of safety, provides a much more safer environment because other than the rec complex immediately adjacent, the other school facilities are also closed as well as our own farm.
And they think that it can be done within that week?
Yes. Currently they're undergoing abatement, which means that they are removing anything that contains hazardous materials under a safety. So my understanding is there are pieces of the building that are already being removed. And that basically it's the exterior walls that will be left at that point in time.
Thank you.
And I have one more question. Can you share more about the volunteer driver impact and how that is impacting our division? That's the volunteer drivers.
We routinely go through the procedure with regards to volunteer drivers, and it's just part of our review process.
Right, thank you. I thought I was having issues or that is.
No.
Good. Thank you. No other comments, we'll move to our business items. Start 5.1, you again, Mr. Akbar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So at this time of the year, the Finance Committee is looking to solicit items that the trustees may feel need additional support or consideration as part of the budgeting process. The Finance Committee in the past, what's presented there is looking for items that maybe is a new priority that had not been listed in the education plan, about the financial cost. Or there's some standalone expenditure for operations or capital that is unrelated to the education plan. The Finance Committee will also look at those items and then look at them through a certain lens or certain lenses. So with that in mind, when the Finance Committee is looking at those suggestions from trustees individually, they'll be looking as whether that item is included in the budget processes already. Individual trustees may not see all the details that go behind the development of the budget, and therefore a consideration for an item is already built within processes of the division's operations. Does the item fulfill a board priority not addressed by the budget processes already? We hope administratively that as we're developing the budget, we are reflecting the board's priorities, but maybe something has been missed in error. Does the item support a board activity or action items? So is there an activity of the board that needs to be supported? Does the item impact any external limitations, i.e. does it impact our spending cap? When we add these items, what external limitations may exist that will draw us over, and then it becomes a question of choice in terms of whether we move forward with an expenditure. Is the item outside the scope of education? Our industry is famous or infamous, I'm not sure the correct phrase, for wanting to do more for children and kids. But sometimes we have to recognize that that is outside of our scope, and the responsibility resides in another area or another part of our community. And then the last item, is the item impacting the entire division or a specific school, community, or group of individuals or students? That's not meant to say that there aren't subgroups that need to be supported through the budgeting process and the allocation of resources, but it's also recognizing that as trustees, you're expected to think of the division as a whole. And is that a reflection of that vision for a division as a whole, or is it a reflection of a specific want or desire of a particular community? So those are the various lenses. What the Finance Committee has requested is if you feel that you have an item that deserves special consideration within the budget, that you submit that to Trustee Miller with a copy to myself by January 31st. So that the Finance Committee at their next meeting in February can review those items through those lenses and move them forward or respond and report back to the trustees on items that may be board approved or moved forward in line.
So the date there is January 31st, please.
Trustee Miller, if I left anything out, sorry.
No, that's okay. No, that's perfect.
We will go to in camera 5.2 and then I'm going to make them cool waves.
Leave off and stay.
Okay, thank you. Right.
We have motion to go in camera.
Okay.